Straight ahead on Law and Crime Daily. The family of a black jogger sues his alleged killers 1 year after his death. The investigation, litigation, and reforms in the Ahmaud Arbery case. The independent investigation into the death of Elijah McClain. The report finding police officers had no justification to stop the 23-year-old. An inside look into the use of force and the powerful injection. A Nazi concentration guard living in the U.S. for half a century, now deported to Germany. Plus, the lengths one deputy took to save a missing girl, the rescue caught on body cam video.
Just wait there for me, sweetheart, okay? Are you okay?
Law and Crime Daily covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Brian Buckmeyer along with Terry Austin. It's been 1 year since 3 white men chased down and killed a young black man in a Georgia neighborhood. The killing shocked the nation, leading to reforms in the Peach State and murder charges against those men.
I think that this case is as much a watershed moment, so to speak, as the George Floyd case.
The case was different, but just as startling. In Georgia, 3 white men chased down a young, unarmed black man in a neighborhood, claiming Ahmaud Arbery was breaking into a house on February 23, 2020.
There were civilians involved who assumed that they were acting as police officers.
The local prosecutor said at the time that no charges would be filed. In May, the attorney for one of the suspects shared video of the shooting with the media. Then, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation was assigned to the case.
Once the Georgia Bureau of Investigation became involved in that case, within a 38-hour time frame, we had warrants issued for the arrest of 2 individuals. We conducted the remainder of our investigation before we made a decision that probable cause existed to arrest the 3rd defendant. We did that.
The suspects? Father Gregory McMichael, son Travis McMichael, and neighbor William Rhodey Bryant. All 3 would be arrested for felony murder and later indicted on malice murder, aggravated assault, and false imprisonment. As it turned out, Gregory McMichael retired just a year earlier after working as an investigator for the district attorney's office for 24 years.
You know, I was chief investigator with the DA's office for 23 years, so I know what you got to do. I know everything, you know.
The GBI revealed that Arbery went jogging in the Satilla Shores neighborhood of Brunswick. Surveillance video taken from a home under construction shows Arbery going inside and drinking water. Video taken by Brian minutes later captured the 3 men chasing after Arbery. Arbery appears to try to run around the truck when he is shot by Travis McMichael.
I live right there. We've had break-ins and my gun's stolen. And we caught him the other day, and Dad was outside, saw him running by, and the neighbors pointing and everything, coming out of the truck, running at us. I told him stop till he hit me. I had nothing to do. There's nothing else I can do.
The men claim self-defense, but prosecutors say the crime was racially motivated, citing racist texts found on their phones and statements made about the shooting.
Mr. Bryan said that after the shooting took place, before police arrival, while Mr. Arbery was on the ground, that he heard Travis Michael make the statement.
Since the shooting, Georgia added a hate crime law to its books, one of 4 states in the country without it. Now, the governor is trying to eliminate a Civil War-era citizens arrest law.
Ahmaud was a victim of vigilante style of violence that has no place in Georgia. And some tried to justify the actions of his killers by claiming they had the protection of an antiquated law that is ripe for abuse.
For Ahmaud Arbery's family, justice means keeping his memory alive as the nation's reckoning over race intensifies.
He ran this path many times, and our home was just a light jog away. But for him, no matter how he maneuvered, no matter how fast he ran, or how quickly he turned, these men refused to let him go home. They should not go home now.
This incident actually occurred before the untimely death of George Floyd, and it too received tremendous national attention. And I think piggybacking on that, the incident involving George Floyd was basically the straw that broke the camel's back. So this case and everything that surrounds it actually cast a much wider net as far as the tensions, racial tensions and so forth in this country.
Here to look back on the life and legacy of Ahmaud Arbery and the reforms that followed is civil rights attorney DeWitt Lacey and Terry Austin. DeWitt, A year after Arbery was killed by Travis McMichael, Lee Merritt, the family's attorney, filed a federal lawsuit claiming there was a cover-up by the Glynn County Police Department. Thoughts on that lawsuit?
Well, Brian, I'll tell you, the lawsuit it's got some issues. It's going to be tough because these folks are, the McMichaels are going to need to be thought of under the law's eyes as acting under the color of law. However, of course, they weren't officers. The lawsuit alleges they were deputized. There seems to be some factual information to suggest that some law enforcement officers sought to advise community members that they could refer to the McMichaels when they were in need of law enforcement help. So, there's some struggles there, but I think that it gets at some very significant issues in law enforcement in Georgia.
Now, Terry, as you saw there, Governor Kemp is currently trying to reform the law of citizens' arrest, a law with roots to the year after the Emancipation Proclamation, allowing citizens to arrest fleeing criminals. How will this create change in Georgia?
Well, let's hope that it does. The old law is antiquated, and it really allowed for vigilantism. The new law is going to make it more than just suspicion. Under the old law, if you suspected there was a crime, almost anybody could make an arrest. Now, under the new law, you can still defend yourself, you can defend your home, and if a business person sees that a crime is being committed, then they can make an arrest. And of course, police can still make an arrest if they have probable cause. But what the new law is attempting to do is to limit the circumstances where these arrests can be made. Let's see how that law is actually enforced when it's actually passed.
It's devastating that a life had to be lost to create change, but may Arbery's legacy forever change Georgia for the better. DeWitt, Terry, thank you for your input. Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, did a Wisconsin man kill his wife to be with his new girlfriend? But first, we break down the independent probe into the death of Elijah McClain, why investigators are criticizing first responders' handling of the case. Next. An independent investigation into the death of Elijah McClain in police custody found fault with the officers he's encountered that night and the department's handling of the case. Law and Crime's Angenette Levy is here with the report's finding.
Yeah, Brian, the city of Aurora, their city council actually asked for this independent review. It found that police didn't even have constitutional grounds to stop Elijah McClain and that the police use of force investigation was deeply flawed.
Stop right there. Hey, stop right there. Stop. 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 I have a right to stop you because you're being suspicious.
That's body camera video from the initial contact police had with Elijah McClain on August 24th, 2019.
It is important to note that neither the caller nor any of the officers identified a crime that they thought Mr. McClain had committed, was committing, or was about to commit.
The investigation found that even that initial contact was flawed.
The officer must, under the federal constitution and Colorado law, have reasonable suspicion that the person had committed a crime, is committing a crime, or is about to commit a crime.
The investigation also found that the Major Crimes Division made errors when interviewing the officers involved, such as not questioning them about why they made the leap from approaching McClain in a voluntary stop to then investigating him for a crime they had no knowledge of and then making an arrest.
My name's Elijah McClain.
Yeah,
That's
bro.
all.
I'm here to use carotid.
That's what I was doing. I was just going home. Why? I'm an introvert and I'm different.
Police placed McClain in a neck hold that cut off blood to his brain, leaving him unconscious, and paramedics injected McClain with a sedative. Independent investigators also faulted officers for using pain compliance techniques despite McClain being cuffed, and then police investigators not pressing the officers about that force.
He did not have supernatural strength, as you can see from the video. He is completely restrained under a pile of law enforcement officers.
That was one of the lawyers for McClain's family last year. The family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit. McClain's mother released a statement after the independent investigation's findings were revealed. It reads in part, Miss Shanine McClain is relieved that the truth surrounding the death of her son is finally coming to light. We applaud the independent review panel's objective, studious, and comprehensive investigation into the events of August 24th, 2019.
Now, the review actually applauded the Aurora Police Department for a few things, including banning those carotid chokeholds after Elijah McClain's death. They also implemented a policy that enables officers to stop use of force, either physically or verbally. And there was also some fault found with the district attorney's review of this case, their investigation or lack thereof. The Colorado Attorney General has actually impaneled a grand jury to investigate McClain's death. Brian?
Thanks, Angenette. Here to break down the death of Elijah McClain is civil rights attorney DeWitt Lacey and Terry Austin. Terry, in the report, the doctor said that McClain's health was already declining and even a more accurate dosage of ketamine would not have changed the outcome. That sounds like, to me, at least, based on my defense attorney background, that could have been manslaughter or murder. So what do you think is going to happen with the grand jury?
You know, that's a good question, Brian. In my opinion, I think both the police and the EMT should be held accountable, and I think charges should be brought. You heard from Angenette's report that we did not see the police here telling him why he was being stopped. What was suspicious about his behavior? Was he committing a crime? And then we hear also that once he's down, he gets shot with ketamine and 500 milligrams, which is the maximum amount. And so I think that both the officers and the EMT should be held accountable for this. And I think it's wonderful that we have policies in place now that this has occurred, but I think we need to have specific accountabilities for these actions.
Yeah, policy is one thing, justice is another. DeWitt, we covered this story when it first came out. I want to read you a quote that the report came up with when talking about the Aurora PD, asking leading questions. They said the officers elicited, quote, specific exonerating magic language found in court rulings. To me, that sounds like the investigators led the officers to the right answers to get them off. What are your thoughts?
That is textbook, Brian, for how these officer-involved officer-involved shootings and or death investigations go, especially in civil rights cases. We see it all the time. There's kind of a nudge and a wink here about answers, and then these answers are suggested to the person who's being investigated. And sadly, that's pretty par for the course throughout investigations of officers who have killed people. So I think you're right. Yes, it definitely suggests that there's some type of shoddy investigation or at least some complicity in law enforcement killing people when they shouldn't.
Yeah. Angenette, with all of the criticisms that came out of the investigation, is the city planning to do anything else?
Yeah, you know, they are, Brian. The city manager actually just announced that they are going to be setting up or implementing an independent monitor to oversee the police department in these use of force issues. They hope that that will increase the amount of accountability the police department has to the public. And they have also discontinued, the fire department has, with the paramedics, the use of ketamine. You also, Terry mentioned earlier that although that didn't contribute to Elijah McClain's death, according to the review, they found that he was already in distress at the time, but they have discontinued the use of that sedative.
All right. Well, we'll see where those policy changes go, but policy without punishment doesn't really change much from what I've seen. Thank you, everyone. Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, a Nazi concentration guard caught right here in America, now deported to Germany. Plus, why would an elderly man bring a gun into the office of his apartment complex? A sneak preview into the new hit series, I Survived a Crime, next. We're back. When a 93-year-old man brought a gun into a Las Vegas office, employees were terrified about what he might do. Host of the news show I Survived a Crime, Gio Benitez, is here to tell us their story.
The cranky old man stereotype can often elicit laughs, but what happened to our next survivor at the hands of an irate elderly man is far from funny. An unexpected encounter almost cost him his life. Las Vegas, Nevada. It's 9:10 a.m. An elderly man walks into an apartment management office to complain about his flooded apartment. A female office worker is behind the desk. Her supervisor is nearby. The elderly man is irate and threatens them. The woman discreetly presses a panic button beneath her desk and dials 911.
911 emergency, Tracy, 4804. Do you need police, fire, or medical? Please. We have a man with a gun. Is he in the office? Yes. Is he threatening anyone with the gun? Yes. He has it out in his hand? Yes.
The man fires a round. It rips through a computer.
Please, sir, stop. Please.
The woman begs for her life.
No, please stop. No, I have grandbabies. I have kids I have to take care of. Please don't hurt him either. Please. Okay, ma'am, we've got officers who are going to be on the way. Is there any way that you can get out of the office and leave him there? I can try. Try and get out of the office if you can safely do so. Okay.
The man allows her to go, but holds her colleague at gunpoint. He orders him to stay seated. Then he takes aim.
Tell me about that video. Break that down. What else are we going to hear about that crazy bit of video when we tune into your show?
Well, he does shoot. And in fact, if you've been seeing the promo of the show, we show that moment where he does shoot. Now, he shoots him in his leg, so he doesn't kill the man. And so thankfully, that man does survive. But this is a very, very scary situation. And what's unique about this is that you have the surveillance video there recording, but you also have the woman on the phone with 911. That's how you're able to hear the audio. So you are really transported right into that room because you hear what is happening in that room at that exact moment while you're watching.
Shocking story. I Survived the Crime airs Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on the A&E networks. When we come back, the lengths one deputy went through to rescue a missing teen. The body cam video and harrowing story you don't want to miss after the break. Prosecutors in Wisconsin are continuing to present their case, alleging a husband killed his wife and hid her body. James Prokopovich is charged with first-degree intentional homicide of his wife of 24 years, Victoria Prokopovich. Investigators say it was part of his plan to be with his new girlfriend, Catherine Friday. The defense claims the victim suffered from mental health illnesses and calls her disappearance a suicide. Prosecutors expect to wrap up their case on Wednesday. The defense could present evidence on Thursday. A 95-year-old former Nazi concentration camp guard has been deported from Tennessee to Germany. The Department of Justice says Karl Friedrich Berger arrived in Frankfurt after a U.S. immigration judge ordered his removal last year. The judge found Berger willingly served as an armed guard in a concentration camp. During a two-day trial, Berger said he did not observe any killings. The court, however, ruled Berger participated in a forced evacuation during the winter of 1945. 70 prisoners died during the two-week ordeal. Berger had been living in the U.S. since 1959. He reportedly has agreed to be questioned by German prosecutors. The wife of the infamous drug kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman has been arrested on international drug trafficking charges. FBI agents took Emma Carnell Ispiro into custody at Dulles International Airport in Virginia on Monday afternoon. She's accused of helping El Chapo escape from a Mexican prison and evade capture. She's also accused of helping to coordinate shipments of cocaine, heroin, marijuana, and methamphetamine. Cornell was born in California and is a dual citizen of the U.S. and Mexico. El Chapo is currently in federal custody, serving a life sentence. A sheriff's deputy is being hailed as a hero for rescuing a missing 13-year-old girl. The Volusia County Sheriff's Office says the girl ran away with a 22-year-old man she met online. The girl's grandmother said she didn't return home, and her friend told investigators she was picked up at a dollar store by the man. Deputy Royce James tirelessly went to local motels, seeing if the teen was there. At the third hotel, he found a match.
Ooh, where's this guy? I think this is him. Front office, anybody inside? We need to come in for a second. Sheriff's office, back up. Have a seat on the couch. Just wait there for me, sweetheart, okay? Are you okay? Do you need any attention? Are you hurt at all? You're not hurt at all? Your stomach hurts? Okay, we're gonna be right with you, okay? How old are you? If I ask you that question again, I'm gonna lose my mind. How old are you? 22. Oh, you f***ed up. Yeah, you f***ed up real good.
Tyler Thompson was arrested and is facing charges of interference with child custody and traveling to meet after using a computer to lure a child. He was released from jail on a $15,000 bail. Additional charges are pending. Here to discuss probably every parent's nightmare is DeWitt Lacey and Terry Austin. Scary reality for this family, but thankfully she is safe, and the video capturing a great detective at work. DeWitt, what's your reaction?
Wow. Now, this officer certainly deserves all the praise and commendation that he should get. I mean, excellent work for him and diligent to continue searching for this young girl when he didn't have to, you know, but he certainly did his work and did what he needed to do in order to make sure that this young girl got brought home safely. Kudos to him and the department for having such a person of fine character and dedication to service.
Now, Terry, what stuck out to you when you saw this video?
Brian, I actually was moved to tears when I saw her run up to the officer and hug him. You know, thank God for Deputy, James. He actually followed up on information. He did not stop. He went door to door until he finally found her. So kudos to him.
All right, thank you for joining us here at Law&Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.